Hey Georgetown, Janice here. So I am currently back in my home in Pennsylvania. As you can tell by the change of scenery from my other vlogs, that I'm home due to COVID-19, which has broken out across the globe. As a safety measure, Georgetown had all students move off campus if they were able to, and has moved to a virtual online environment for the rest of the semester. So today I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what's going on at Georgetown. Finally, I also wanted to give some tips moving forward with a virtual environment, as well as touching on some of the things Georgetown is doing to protect the welfare of the Georgetown community. If I'm going to be really honest, and I'm sure everyone has felt this way, the last few weeks have been really tough. So initially students left for spring break and were given an email right before we were supposed to return for spring break saying that we would not be returning for the rest of the semester out of the good of the welfare and safety of our community. So that being, some of us came down between the 2 weeks we were given, which was a general transition period from the university to get our dorm belongings and move out finally, which has been really sad. I think the biggest difficulty for me is that I was worried how my classes would look going forward online. So I am a history and government major with a French minor, and especially with my government and history classes, actually no, all my degrees, they're all deeply discussion based. So I was most scared to see how that would turn out at Georgetown without being at Georgetown. What I will say is this though, the faculty and administration will not stop at anything to make sure students have the most optimal experience and are also taken care of during this hard time. So even though there is an element that is saddening that we're now online, I've never felt so much care and attention and consideration from the faculty, my deans, really everyone up on the higher levels at Georgetown University to make sure that we're okay and we're getting what we need academically and what we're also getting mentally as well, as this is a hard process. One of the biggest issues that has popped up with the virtual learning environment is that now, because we're all home, and Georgetown is a school that invites people from all over the world, all over the nation, meaning we have many different time zones, that a lot of us are no longer in a reasonable time zone to be in class. So a lot of my professors, before we started the online learning environment, got in touch with us to find out where we'd be, time zone wise, and what we needed to help succeed in the class. Even though this time has been hard, I do think there has been some solace in education. More than ever, what I do like about Georgetown is that it's a spiritual community. And even if you're someone who's not religious, I think there's a virtue in learning to appreciate the community we have, the resilience we have, and the hope of the future. And I think more than ever, our spiritual ministry, as well as faculty, and even the student body as a whole, has really come together, I think, to band against this crisis, to make sure that we're uplifted spiritually, that we're able to encourage each other to continue engaging intellectually. But above that, what I really have found is that the school has really come together to help those who have been targeted by the pandemic, whether it's financially in terms of living conditions, or actually help to make sure they have the resources they need. Because if we're not able to help each other in terms of our emotional and physical welfare, how can we even begin to move on in terms of classes, which I think has been the most pressing issue. So despite the fact that there are difficulties surrounding the situation, and that I'm really sad that I won't see my favorite people in person anymore, the community has still been more alive than ever, in my opinion, at Georgetown University. So having said that, I also want to give some tips, whether you do go to Georgetown or you don't go to Georgetown, on how to get through virtual learning, because it is a totally different game and it's a totally different approach. I noticed for me, initially, I was getting really distracted by my computer. So I would be, on the Zoom conference and I would be like, oh, an email just popped up, or, oh, I wonder if that shirt's still available online. So if I'm going to be really honest, so my first piece of advice is try and clear out any distraction, which I know can be hard, especially if your whole family is in isolation with you. If you can, find a quiet room, whether it's yours, work together with your family to make a schedule that works for everyone else, And please log out of really any other platforms you're on during the time of class to have total time and attention utilization. My second piece of advice is make use of the technology that we do have and the online resources that we do have. Even though you can no longer go to the office and see your professor during office hours, they all still have Zoom conferencing. I've been trying to use this as much as I can to still stay engaged with my faculty, and I've been trying to use these same resources to stay in touch with my friends. Right now, it's really an easy time to feel lonely. So go ahead, call that relative you haven't called in a while, call that friend who you were planning to go on a lunch date with upon arrival, but you never just did. Because I think now is the time we need community more than ever. My third piece of advice, and I think this is the most important, is yes, school is important. Yes, staying on top of your tasks and being productive is important, but more than ever, we need to focus on taking care of ourselves. So what I do recommend is, despite the stresses you're feeling during the day, the responsibilities that you do have, take time to focus on yourself, address your needs, try and reflect, and see what you can do to help yourself or the situation or even those around you. Because I do believe the core of any success that we have starts with an innate balance that we have. That's my advice, and also a recap of what's been happening at Georgetown, as well as an inside perspective by a student going through the COVID-19 pandemic. I hope that everyone is healthy, well, and staying home during this time. Thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to start back up at Georgetown next semester. Hoya Saxa.